California is one of the most populous states in the U.S. and one of the most diverse places to fly fish. From the base of the Sierra Nevadas to the Pacific coast, steelhead in the north, carp on the flats, and saltwater opportunities in Southern California, it's just about all here. Today, you're going to get an inside look at where to fish and what to expect, straight from a guy who reps some of the top brands in fly fishing and helps design gear you're probably using right now. This is the Wet Fly Swing Podcast, where I show you the best places to travel to for fly fishing, how to find the best resources and tools to prepare for that big trip, and what you can do to give back to the fish species we all love. Matt Callies, product designer at Loon Outdoors, fly tyer, and longtime fly fishing rep, joins us to share some of his go-to tips from years in the game. You're going to hear which Loon product tops the charts these days and has for a while, what new gear is turning heads, and what life on the road as a rep really looks like. Plus, Matt's going to break down one leader he always carries and why building your own might not be worth the hassle anymore. Heading back to Cali, here he is, Matt Callies from loonoutdoors.com. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Great. Yeah, it's always good to get these update episodes. We had you on way back in, I think it was June of 2020, episode 147, and we're approaching 800 now, so it's been quite a bit ago. I'm excited to hear because Loon, we're always hearing a lot about Loon out there. Just the other day, I had a guest that brought up one of your, I can't remember what it's called. It's the circular thing that holds all of the fly materials. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but he throws it on his wall and he has all of his, fly patterns and all that stuff, all the materials.
Oh, the bench rings.
Yeah, the bench rings. Yeah, it was Brian Wise. He was talking about it. He was like, man, these things are awesome. And so I want to get an update on Loon because I'm sure there's been some new products in the last 5 years, but also the area you cover for kind of the brands that you work with. And that includes, a lot of stuff in California, which we're always, working on there. So, but take us back real quick. How'd you get, give us a little update, maybe just from the last 5 years. What's been new with you?
Oh, man. Lots of different things. Loon, we're always continuously growing, and I do product design there. So I get to kind of invent all of the stuff that we're coming out with. We've come out with some new floatants, a ton of new tools, tungsten carbide. We've reinvented shapes and styles of scissors that added posts. Kind of if you look at like the hair industry, right? Like you get a high-end pair of like hair cutting scissors, and they have like posts to rest your fingers on. And so we just do like a lot of things just a little bit different. And so, yeah, we're kind of just continuously evolving and trying to introduce new ideas. Probably my favorite thing that we've done in the last 5 years is a product called Fly Dip, which is, I only lit my garage on fire once creating that. So it was a win. But, it's like it's an evaporative that is eco-friendly. So it's not like a petroleum-based product. So, it's not bad for the environment.
And is this the dip? Is this like a dry fly floatant?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to like the Flyagra stuff. Just Loon's healthier spin on it, I guess I would say, which, is always the hurdle, designing products that work as well as other things, but don't have like the harm that other products have, So.
Yeah, totally. Those are a few for sure. Maybe talk about the other, let's just go around. Let's keep it high level here for a second. And so you obviously have a lot going with Loon being, designing products and everything there. What are some of the other, brands out there that you're working with?
So I am like the Southwest, which kind of encompasses California, Nevada, Arizona, and unfortunately Hawaii, because who wants to go there, right? So I work with Scott Fly Rods. I work with Echo Fly Rods. I recently picked up Lamson.
Oh, nice.
I work with Foley Mill Flies. They do great flies, materials, Trout Hunter, Leader, and Tippet. Casey Underwood. I do Cling. I do Corkers. I have a cool net company called North Fork Nets that we just brought kind of under the Loon umbrella for distribution, and they're American-made nets. And that's kind of fun. That's been a fun project to work with those guys. And, so yeah, I'm forgetting stuff because I have a laundry list of products, but those are kind of like the main hitters. And I don't know, I kind of think like in the terms of most of my brands are kind of still the cool indie rock bands. It's small, tight knit crews, kind of like the dudes you would want to go, or women too, like that you would want to go fish with. The people that like you get on the phone and it's like, hey, this is going to take 5 minutes, and 40 minutes later you're like, hey, so stoked for the update, man. Like that was fun.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
You
awesome.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a cool like group of brands and like-minded individuals that I get to work with.
That's cool. So yeah, no, I love what you're saying here. I mean, all these brands are great, obviously, and Lamson, Nick at Lamson, we've talked to him, and I've been on the river with him as well. I mean, I think that's kind of the fly fishing space, right? I mean, you're lucky enough to kind of work with all these great people, and Loon, I guess, is the one, going back to that because you're more connected there, right? Just because of the product stuff. Give us a little update for the people that didn't listen to that last episode. How did you come into the Loon world?
Man, I mean, this is, I have a friend who teaches at like I don't want to call it an alternative high school. And he's like, dude, I want you to come to career day and tell the kids how you got to be a fly fishing rep. And I'm like, dude, that would be the worst idea ever.
Right.
Because it's not this glorified pathway of like, oh, I went to an Ivy League college and, studied for my MBA and now I'm here, or, whatever. Honestly, I was a firefighter paramedic living in the back of my truck so I could fish more. Kind of like, I mean, this was like early to mid 2000s probably. So like this was far before van life, guiding, getting put on pro staffs. And I got invited to IFTD in, I think, Reno, maybe. And walking down the exhibition hall, there's like this tall blonde lady. And I'm like, whoa, I know this woman. She grew up 5 doors down from me. It's Brett, the owner's wife, Andrea. She like gives me a huge hug. I haven't seen you since we were kids. What are you doing here? I'm like, oh, I live in Redding. She's like, whoa, we live in Ashland. We own Loon.
Wow.
Like, and from there it was like, hey, I want to look at like, talking to them. And it was really just like one of those things where I like somebody from my past, like that, grew up 5 doors down from me in San Diego, mind you,
Right.
is now 2 hours away from me in Northern California.
Crazy.
And from there, I started doing tie-in videos. And then one day, just like, hey, we want you to help us with product design. Like there was like obviously a ton of evolution inside of that, but like it was like one of those days with like a job offer comes in the mailbox and you're like, whoa, this is rad. And at the time I was kind of like being a pro staff guy, going into repping, all of that stuff. And yeah, they kind of took me out of that for a while. And then I kind of circled back to getting to rep again too, which I love. So, but yeah, it's not like the story. It's like, dude, I got where I was because I was super focused. I got where I was because I was like a total dirtbag trout bum.
Yeah. You're in the right place at the right time. It happened. All happened. Yeah.
So
I guess that's the thing. I mean, when you hear, because there are some people out there listening right now that are probably thinking, man, I would love to be doing something like you're doing, or, repping. I mean, that whole thing, is it always pretty, do you think most of the stories from people you talk to who are reps or in similar things of you, or it's pretty random how they got there?
I think it's all pretty random. Some reps come in as like a sub rep where they have a guy who's established and, like it's like the elder statesman takes you under the wing and it's like, you're going to be the lineage. And I know a lot of reps like that. And I kind of went like the school of hard knocks where it's like, you're going to get this brand and there's 3 accounts. Like, dude, go get them, Tiger. And you're like trying to explain to your wife why you just purchased, because nothing's free despite what everybody thinks, right? All like you went in the whole like 10K in product to go show it to 3 shops and your wife's looking at you like you're nuts.
Right. Man.
So
that is some pretty good pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like trial by fire and it's a tough thing to do. There's no easy way into it.
No, there isn't. Well, I think like in business, if you have a good product, that makes it easier, right? And I mean, I think everybody you talked to, you mentioned previously are pretty top of the line products in the fly fishing space, right? So I'm sure going to fly shops and stuff like that makes it a little bit easier when you walk in with those folks behind you, right? Although there's still competition, right? Because I mean, Scott's an amazing rod, but there's so many amazing rods out there, right? Do you still do the fly shop? Are you cruising around checking in with fly shops? Is that part of your regular process?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was in a fly shop yesterday. I'll be in a fly shop on Sunday.
Yep. Right. So you're still going into shops and basically doing, updates on what you have, your lineup and all that stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, I mean, my weekend's going to be pretty chaotic. Both my kids play pretty high level competitive soccer. So they both have a tournament this weekend. So there's like 4 games Saturday, and then Saturday night I'm ditching my wife to deal with the Sunday mayhem
Sure.
and going to an awesome event, actually, live music, barbecue at Tahoe Fly Fishing Outfitters in South Lake. We're doing a full day customer appreciation day event for like spring kickoff. It's scheduled to snow, so that should be great and fun. And then, yeah, I'm actually in shops the whole next week doing education and training on new products just prior to kind of like that. We kind of already had trout opener, even though that's more of a historical thing here in California because regulations changed. But trying to get in there early season, get all the young guys that like maybe just got a job tuned up, get all the guys who have been there a while tuned up on the new products. We'll get them pizza, bagels, whatever time of day it is, right? Like dial them in and just go hit like 12 shops in the next 5 days.
Right. Gotcha.
So
that's it. So pretty much you go around, so you're ready to go. It's more checking in with people and just letting them know what's going on and just keeping people kind of on the same page.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Here's some new stuff. Here's why we did it, give them the features, advantages, and benefits and make sure they understand it and don't have any questions.
Right. Because people are going to come in the shop and now it's like, okay, you need a new fly rod, here's a Scott or whatever. And then they can talk about the features and benefits and everything in more detail.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's cool, man. That's pretty awesome. And of course you're able to get out on the water, right? Occasionally with folks.
Yeah. Besides like, being a rep is like the most glorified office job because there's a ton of back end work.
Oh yeah.
Is most of the guys from the shops will point you in the real right direction. Like, hey, go hit this. I've been fishing it for the last 3 days. I got to work, but go fish this. And this is the bugs I was using, check it out. Like, see what you find. It's like, cool.
Right.
So
yeah, that's cool. Well, we're talking a little about California, which is good because I wanted to do a little kind of walk around California maybe, and I'm not sure if we can cover the whole state because it's huge. I mean, we were just down in San Diego on a podcast and, we're up in Northern a lot, but let's talk high level California fly fishing. I know you know it quite well. Where do you start? If somebody's thinking about just understanding California, how would you break up the state in a fly fishing kind of perspective? Is that pretty crazy? Is that pretty hard to do since it's such a huge state and all that?
not totally for me. I always think back of like those funny meme maps, and it's like Northern California, it's like always gets pinned as like rednecks and hippies.
Oh, it does, right?
Like whatever it is. So like kind of like say we'll take like Bay Area, Sacramento and just push geographically north. Like that's like kind of like the Northern California trout area. And up here, everything's looking pretty awesome. Water is not an issue. We had too much water, quite literally too much water for the second year in a row.
Oh, right. Yeah, you guys had that's right. You had those some pretty decent flooding events, right?
Yes. I mean, just this winter alone, winter flows for the lower stack, which is like my backyard. Literally, I live on the river, is about 3,500, and it's this awesome midge tailwater all winter long with nobody on it. It was at 64,000 for weeks on end.
Jeez, no kidding. 64,000 for a week, not just a day of up bump, but
No.
weeks.
It was sustained 64,000 just due to the fact that we have Shasta above us creating our tailwater, obviously, with the large dam. But, like right now, it's starting to clear up. It's back down into normal spring ranges. The back door has a ton randomly of PMDs on it this morning. They're about a size 14 to 16, if anybody's curious. And I'm starting to see some caddis. Our bass scene up here for our Highland, I call them like Highland reservoirs. That's kind of would be like your Shastas, stuff like that, where they take a deep canyon, dam it up, Oroville. Our bass are moving out of, they're in a various stage of spawn. Like there's some late spawners, but I think the majority of the spawn push is over right now. Float and fly action has been super fun. I'm sure you've talked to guys about that. As we move, so there's opportunities up here right now for everything. I think the Bay Area, surprisingly, it's probably one of the funnest places for beach and surf fishing. I'm seeing guys post fish everywhere there. The delta's, heating up so that like largemouth bass striper fishery is going to be going off. There's just a ton going on. As you move like up into the mountain regions, say like, because I kind of start the Sierra Nevadas mountain range like below Lassen as it changes from like plate tectonic movement into more volcanic mountain ranges. Not to be a geology nerd, but I think the Sierra Nevadas are still holding like a pretty good amount of snowpack. So we're going to see a little bit higher flows throughout that for a while, probably well into June. But there's still a ton of great fishing happening right now in the spring. I know the guys in South Lake and in Truckee are posting fish that they're catching with the shop, the shop guys are going out and fishing. And so that looks pretty vibrant. Mammoth, I've heard good reports from like that whole Owens Valley down, like kind of that whole region. I would probably say the mountain streams like might be a little aggressive at times right now, just due to snowpack. And this, San Diego is going to be 67 and sunny.
Always.
Always, having grown up there, but like right now it's probably, well post spawn for freshwater fish. And, the ocean's probably going to be start to really kick off. So guys, it's interesting. I've seen a huge rise in equipment for pelagic species on the fly down there in the last few years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what are pelagic species? What's that again?
So like your tuna, your Dorado, anything that's following surface temperatures and bait. Also, there's just been a huge influx of dudes running down to Mexico, which like growing up there, we were renting pongas all through the 90s, and you could go out and like have these epic days on fiberglass 8-weights and click paws and just get.
Oh, wow. So you would go down there. So when you were a kid, you would go down into the Baja and fish off. Is that kind of what with pongas?
Yeah, you could go and rent like you're not renting the ponga, like literally you're kind of finding a fisherman and just being like, "Hey, will you take us fishing if we give you money in the fish?" And back then, like I'm not a purist in any capacity as far as fishing goes. Like I wasn't brought up that way. I'm more of like, so it was a mix of like whatever we had.
Sure.
And, some fun adventures, and then the afternoons, you'd go surf for the rest of the day if the wind was right.
Fish the Fly Guide Service is dedicated to sharing the incredible fly fishing opportunities around Jackson Hole. Whether floating the scenic Snake River in search of native cutthroat trout or hiking into the mountains to explore pristine tributaries, every day on the water is an adventure. You can join them for an unforgettable fly fishing experience in the heart of the Tetons at fishthefly.com. Pescador on the Fly offers a full range of fly fishing gear for any angler at any budget, with premium rods delivered directly to you. The El-Ray G6 is the most packable, high-performance fly rod on the market, performing like a 4-piece rod but with unmatched portability in 6 pieces. And you can get 10% off your next order right now if you use the code WETFLYSWING at pescadoronthefly.com. Never fly without your G6. Discover the El-Ray series and more at pescadoronthefly.com. Yeah, you definitely hear a lot about that. The Baja was a place that I think it seems like it's super doable, because it's not super expensive. There's lots of that sort of stuff you could do, right? Or you could probably find a lodge down there if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very DIY-able. There's something for everybody. Like, so if your wife or, if you have friends that aren't into fishing, like there's all sorts of excursions. Like everybody can, oh yeah, I'll go fish with you, but we're going to surf later, or I'm going to do this, like whatever it is, there's a little bit of something for everybody. And it's a cool place. So
yeah. And it's pretty much, it's safe, right? People worry about the safety thing, right? But it's pretty doable down there.
I've never had anybody come back, even recently, and be like, "Oh, I felt so unsafe." Like I just have friends in Cabo, and they were like, "Oh, dude, yeah, the kids were running around all over the place," and it's like they weren't freaked out,
No, I think that's the news. Like that's the media stuff. I think it's kind of whatever. But okay, so you got the Baja, so we're going into another country down there. But then what about like between the one area, you don't hear as much about, like between the Bay Area and say San Diego? Like what's that middle portion of California like? You know what I mean? I guess Bakersfield, north of Bakersfield into like you got Fresno, all that area. You got Sequoia National Park. Is there fishing opportunities out there too?
Man, one of the craziest things is the whole west slope, a shout out to Sonora Fly Company, Brian down there. He's on that side, kind of covers down through that, like, Merced, McQualmie, that whole drainage. And I really feel like the general population of Southern California just focuses so heavy on that east side that they forget that there's just this epicenter, literally just like when you're looking from the eastern Sierras and you get up in the mountains, it's like you see the top of everything. And right over that peak, oh, that's the west side, like,
Yeah.
and it's a little different. Yeah, it rolls like from grasslands into like scrub oaks and then into your alpine environment. Tons of access, tons of fish, way less people. And it's a place that I explored a ton as a backpacker in my youth. And Brian does a great job over there. You've got Yosemite Valley. Obviously, that's touristy, lots of people, but just outside of that region throughout Sonora, like you can go talk to Brian. He's going to steer you in the right direction. And it's a whole different world. It's kind of weird. Like the Kern, like Guy Jeans, like does a killer job in the Kern drainage. And as you just curve up that western slope, it just seems like it's not part of the lore as much, right? Like as, the Owens or Hot Creek or any of that stuff. And I've had some of my best trips over there. I always fish a ton of stuff over there. I won't blow up any spots, but
Right. Yeah, we don't blow anything up.
like, yeah, but that's like part of the exploration, man. Go find your spot, go out there, experience that. Like it's part of the whimsy, I guess, in the world, right? Like figure it out, but there's cool places to go adventure over there.
Well, you can always, hop in like your local fly shop, like you said, Sonora Fly Co. and Guy Jeans, both who have been on the podcast, and we've got good resources there, so they could check in there and check, pick their brains and figure out where to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Sierras
Absolutely.
are crazy, right? The Sierra Nevada range is gigantic. I think when you look at it, does it go? I mean, it starts in the northern and goes all the way down towards Bakersfield. Is that kind of the Sierra Nevadas and everything in between there?
Yeah, like man, the Sierra Nevada starts like literally where Guy is at, like that Kern drainage. Like I believe that to be the true southern terminus of the Sierra. Like if you were a PCT hiker, you're rolling through like Borrego, Big Bear, like cool, hit Big Bear, then you drop out and you're in just this like desert. And then all of a sudden it's just like, boom, the Sierra's, that subduction plate is there and that thing just looms. And then it technically, it transitions up north, like right about Lassen from like, and you can see the geology change. You'll have granite, which is Sierra. And then you go more into like a metamorphic rock, like a lot of volcanic basalt, like right about Lassen. So right about that like Redding line is where the Cascades begin, I think, technically. So yeah, it is a massive stretch of I mean, that's 2/3 of California are covered with a spine of the Sierra Nevada.
Wow. Lassen Volcanic National Park. So there's another national park in there.
Yes, yeah. Lassen's 45 minutes from me.
How many national parks are in California? This is nuts, right? I haven't been to Lassen. I didn't even really know about it.
Oh man.
There must be a timing because you got all the big ones. You got Yosemite and Sequoia, right? I mean,
Sequoia. Yeah, and I think Pinnacles, it was a national monument. Now it's a national park.
yeah. Oh, right. So that's what happens. Yeah, the national monuments become parks. Is how they
Parks.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Lassen was a national monument and then became a park. Lassen's insane. Like you can go look at like it's super cool. Rumors, like geologists speculate that it was larger than Everest before
right.
it erupted, just due to like angulation of like inside the crater, right? Like when you find the outside of the crater, which is almost in Red Bluff, like below Red Bluff kind of a thing, like 40 miles south, 50 miles south.
That's the cool thing about the geology. I'm not a big, like, I'm not a nerd on it, but it's interesting because it's been, like you're saying, these plate tectonics, the whole Pacific plate or whatever is moving inland, and it's been doing that for probably millions of years. And so like Yosemite or Yellowstone, right, is kind of the epicenter of all that volcanic activity, but that wasn't there a million years ago or what, right? It's moved its way there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's there's just a ton of so like while you're nerding out on trout, like there's like a million other things to nerd. Like, oh, look there's edible mushrooms and
right. All that.
Well, this took this much, like, I don't know. That's what I try to teach my kids at least. And they seem fairly receptive for teenagers, but
oh yeah, they're teenagers, right? They're in that range. That's good.
It depends on what you get. It's a mixed bag, right?
Exactly. I think this has been awesome. So we're popping around California. This is always a hard thing to do, I know, but if I was to say, somebody's going to California and they're thinking, what are some top places or maybe region? We're not going to give any places away, but what would you say? Because we haven't even talked steelhead yet. I mean, there's steelhead, right? What are the species? What do you think are the top? Maybe not your favorite, but what do you think are the ones when you think California, they're kind of those top species in California? Or is it so diverse that it's hard to, put that out there?
Man, The tribal, I mean, as far as like tribes go, like, because I always think of fly fishing kind of as tribalism.
Right.
Like, we're all kind of the same dude, like with the same pursuit. Like, our approaches are all different. And yeah, I mean, like the steelhead tribe guys right now, like their season's kind of coming to that. It's coming to the end, right?
Yeah, let's think of that. This is a good way to do it. I love the tribes, first of all, but also just maybe a year in review, right, of California. So right now it's May, just early May. So this episode probably goes out a little bit later. But so May, so this steelhead season is kind of wrapping up right now.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I would leave them alone. I wouldn't put that like, you know, mid-April, like early April, like it's done. Like if there's anybody left, they want to spawn, leave them alone, let them do their thing. So like right now we start transitioning way more bass fishing. So like a lot of our reservoirs will have, we're pretty blessed here in California. So it depends on where you're at. Like March, April, southern region, that's going to be your bass spawn. Right now, like April, May up north, depending on weather and temps, like that's our spotted bass. Smallies will start going off in June. You've got stripers 24/7 up north. So if you're the bass tribe guy, like all of that, that's all available. And trout's available year round in a lot of the northern and eastern region, I would say. Like, and we'll lump the west slope of the Sierras into that more eastern side just due to geography. But like right now you're gonna see a lot of your valley carp fisheries. Although if you ever have talked to Dagur,
Oh yeah, I have.
he's
Yeah,
catching
that's right, Degor.
he's catching carp on those beautiful lake flats all winter long on a hot pink reel. So
Nice. Yeah, the lake flats. Yeah, he talked about that when we had him on. Yeah, he's got these. You got the lakes, you got the carp in multiple places, but those lake flats are sweet.
yeah, so the carp action will really start like as the water warms, they're going to go into their spawn cycles and stuff like that. Like that's all going to be picking up like right now as well. So I mean, there's not really a place you could throw a dart and you're going to be super bummed.
Yeah, there's.
You know?
It's all open. Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah.
So I love it. So you got steelhead tribe, you got like the bass tribe, you got the carp tribe, the trout, kind of the small. You got the mountain trout, but then what other? Well, then you have like you said, the sack. I mean, you got these tailwaters, right? Are there quite a few tailwaters around in California?
There are, and they're more so up north, like, so when you look at like all of the older water storage systems and you just look at them and every river coming off of like off Oroville, the Yuba, like everything, it's kind of a tailwater fishery. So there's actually quite a bit, like, and they're fairly big rivers. They're very intimidating to, like, if you were a walk and wade angler, like everybody's like, oh, you need a boat to go there. And that one of the thing I always tell those guys is like, dude, big rivers have all the same features as a small river. It's just a little bigger. You know, you just got to find the access point with that access to, oh, look at it's slow inside. Okay, it picks up right there on a riff. It's just a bigger version. The fish sit in the same spots. The playing field's just bigger, right? So, there's a lot of cool tailwaters you can go fish.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's cool. I think it is hard because it's so, diverse, California from the north to south, right, with the change in the environment. I am looking at a blog post I just looked at, drifthook.com. They've got one. They're doing this like 27 places to fish California. I'm interested. I always love to check this out to see, how this looks. So let's run through this list a little bit and see what you think on this. So we've got 12 here. We'll just start with the 10. So Carson River. Now the Carson River do you know that one?
I do. Yeah. So, that's actually like kind of flows starts like just south of Tahoe proper, up in the Sierra Nevadas. So there's East Fork of the Carson, then there's also the West Fork. And that's like probably one of the main guide zones for Tahoe fly fishing outfitters is that Carson. And then that actually meanders, I believe. I haven't looked at it completely. When you get down into like Gardnerville, Minden, kind of like that below the Sierra Valley line back there, I think it goes all the way back through there quite a ways. It does warm up. The species can change on you at a certain point. You're going to get smallies and,
Okay.
Carp and stuff like that. But yeah.
But it's a trout. So the Carson East Fork is probably a trout fishery, or it can be.
Super trout fishery.
Yeah, super trout. Okay. So 2 on this is a Crowley Lake. Do you know that one?
I do know that one. So that one's awesome. That's kind of it's a super cool like chronomid fishery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They also, so like when you get to Mammoth Lakes proper, if you're going to go out on a boat, you go to Crowley, and like by boat, it could be kick boat or a motorized boat, canoe, whatever you got, right? Like there's access. And the guys, there's like a cool little, it's super fun. There's like a little perch hatch there, and the trout eat the perch fry. That's a great chronomid stillwater fishery, mildly alkaline lake. When the lake's lower, actually on the east side, there's some like really crazy, like stalactite looking things
Oh,
you
nice.
like Instagram girls go and walk through them, but like it's actually kind of cool to look at.
Yeah.
Like if you know you're it's
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's super cool lake. Super fabled east side fishery for sure.
Oh, it is. Yeah, east side. So yeah, so that's on the east side of the Sierras.
Yep.
Okay, east side. Okay, so we got, and then so we got. What about Eagle Lake? I've heard of that one. That's a big one, right?
So Eagle Lake, yeah, like that's in the northeast part of the state. Big lake fishery. There's the Eagle Lake rainbows. I think it's one of those I don't think it's like one. I don't think it got widely distributed as say like the McCloud River Red Band through like hatchery programs in the 40s and 50s. I think was the right timeline on that. But the Eagle Lake rainbows are massive, big bodied trout, super cool stillwater fishery.
And that's not far from you, right? Or as far as west of you, or
Um,
it's east of you.
it's east of me. Surprisingly, it's about 2.5 hours, 2 hours.
Oh, it's a little, yeah, it's a little ways. Okay,
It's a little jaunt.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think we did have a podcast with one of the old timers on Eagle. We'll have to put that in the show notes if we can find it. Let's keep going now. We got a few more here. We got East Walker River. I haven't heard of that one. Do you know that one?
Yeah. So the East Walker is Bridgeport, California. Super cool. It's actually a tailwater.
Oh, it is. There you go. Another tailwater.
Well, and it's a weird tailwater. There's Bridgeport Reservoir, and it flows out of the Sierras. Okay. There's the East and the West Walker. Both of them flow out of the Sierras. The West Walker flows through Walker, California, and then the East Walker, which is I think there's like two lakes above it, Twin Lakes, which is like the first part goes to Cattleland, Bridgeport Reservoir, and then everybody fishes kind of below Bridgeport Reservoir. Big brown trout fishery, kind of lower like subalpine type activity there, like as far as like trees and stuff, a lot of juniper, but just huge browns.
Oh, really? Giant browns.
Yep. Yeah. And that's a great town. I've worked there as a firefighter paramedic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In Bridgeport?
In Bridgeport. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jim over there at the Ken Sporting Goods there is
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's no fly shop, but there's a sporting goods.
but you go into those shops on the east side, like, and everybody's like, they don't know, like, he's got more bugs.
Oh, really? So they got lots of fly stuff.
Oh, dude, like 10 bins stacked to the gills.
Nice.
Like anything that you need. He's running, he's got guides that he works with out of the sporting goods store. Super historic building to the town. Super cool place. He'll point you in the right direction. Definitely fun place to fish.
No, this is great. I'm loving this because I get it. It just opens up all these places where you realize, man, it's so huge out there, right? There's so many, and they're all amazing. Like you're talking about this thing I've never even heard of. I guess I have heard of the Walker, but I didn't realize it was this epic tailwater brown trout fishery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super
Cool.
fun. If you're a streamer guy, that's where like a lot of streamer dudes end up too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's check off
Yeah,
a few more
keep
here.
going.
What about the Fall River? There's lots of fall rivers around the country. Do you know what they're talking about here?
Yeah, it's the one up east of Mount Shasta. I have friends up there. It's a cool fishery, man. Huge hex hatch, kind of just this flowing weed bed, crystal clear water, and just really big, healthy trout. Typically, you're gonna want a boat.
Oh, you will. So this is
Yeah.
Fall River near Oroville, right? East of Oroville. No, different one.
No, north.
Oh, north of
Fall
Oroville.
River, like Fall River Mills.
Oh, Oh, yeah, Mills. I see it. Right. Gotcha. Fall River Mills.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like everything it seems east of the mountains are just these like kind of high alpine plains of pretty awesome places.
Yeah. So that's kind of the way California. So you've got the Sierra Nevada. So everything east is obviously more the deserty. On the west side, it's different, right? It's more forested and probably not as much trout fishing. Is that kind of because what do you have down there other than steelhead? Well, you have the redding, right? Or you have the sack, which is huge.
Huge.
But do you have
yeah.
a lot of west side streams that are great for trout fishing? I guess you do
totally.
north. I guess you do north. I'm thinking more like as you go south, right? Southern California, you get down to where you lose that stuff eventually.
I mean, you're not going to lose it till the southern end of the Sierras.
Oh, really? Okay. So you have so all the way southern end of Sierras, you've got west side trout fishing.
Yep.
Pretty decent. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, let's just for good measure, let's get a 6 on here. So we got this is one I think we've heard about, Hat Creek.
Yeah, Hat Creek, super great fishery as well. That's pretty close to home as well. I don't fish it that often. I mean, it sounds funny, but like honestly, time constraint with like my office job that I do of order entry and designing products and
Right.
kids in sports, like
You've got a limited time.
limited time.
Yeah, you can't hit everything. No, I'd say, okay, cool. Well, we broke this out. Let's circle back, as we kind of, get back into the loon thing. I want to hear about that a little more because I know people are going to be interested about that. So you mentioned a few products at the start, the dry fly floating. What do you think are loons kind of right now, some of the top selling products you guys have? Do you have things out there that people are just loving or anything that you just recommend we'd like to check out for your fly tyer?
Yeah, totally. Number one selling product is always Aquel, so it's like my benchmark of things to dethrone.
Aquel. So Aquel. So and why has Aquel always been? It's just why is that the one? Because you mentioned that and Aquel it's got multiple uses, right? But is it mostly the dry fly part?
It's a floatant. Yeah. And for me, like personally, I think I mentioned it earlier on, like we were talking about ear pods or earbuds. And it's like, oh yeah, everything that's wireless kind of gets named like every insulated cup is a Yeti.
Right. Or the trout hunter leaders, right? Almost are getting to that level. Everybody knows they've got this amazing, unique leader, right? It's got its own
Oh,
life.
it's crazy that like the lack of education on leaders, like that's a whole nother tangent. But like trout hunter actually, like a fly line, builds a very specific taper into their leader. And that's why I love trout hunter.
Yeah.
So, it's like guys are like, wow, this leader casts really good. And it's like, mine don't do that. And it's like, dude, it's because of old taper thought processes of guys tying stuff together to create an action, right? Like,
Yeah, talk about that a little bit because this is great. I think this conversation, I know it's huge. We can talk an hour on this, but let's talk leaders for a little bit because I know trout hunter is amazing for a number of reasons. They have like super narrow diameter, but I know a lot of people tie
yes.
their own leaders. We just did one with who was it? We had somebody, Jason Randall, I think, was talking about his leader build. He's got a specific type of leader build, and I'm not sure what he's using there. But talk about the building your own versus, say, the trout hunter or any of these other ones that are, like you're saying, the diameter's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, back in the day, you used to walk into fly shops, and I started fly fishing when I was 11. And I learned how like, my first fly fishing experience was sea run cuts in Washington with my uncle at our family cabin. And he's like, no, you can't use that store-bought thing because they had kind of the store-bought guys, and that's what I showed up with. And he goes, you got to build them. And he goes,
Right. Now, was there truth back in those days when you were 11? Do you think those were not good leaders, or do you think they were solid back then?
dude, honestly, I think my uncle was cheap and material was cheaper than the store-bought thing. And, he was a Renaissance kind of guy, like you wanted to frame a house or like weld something or speak about something really scientific, and he had already learned it. So I half think he enjoyed the tinkering side of things, but also it was like more economical, right? So like back in the day, yeah, everybody had, I mean, I have books of stuff I get at garage sales still to this day, like cool old leader wallets and weird stuff that I enjoy owning. And you look it through it and it's like, this is lefties so and so. This is, and it's all of these infamous fly fishermen's leader formulas that they developed and then shared, and it's like 6 feet of, say 30 pounds, and then 18 inches only of 20 to fit, whatever. And it's like these, and it's all of this series of knots, uni to unis or bloods or whatever your flavor was to create this turnover for a fishery. So it's almost like fly tying to me, like a fly tying recipe. So trout hunter, and the reason they're cool is like, they'll have a 14-foot leader and you'll notice like, wow, this is super, super, super thick. And then, oh my gosh, there's this rapid change. And what that really creates is as your fly line ends, if your leader's not right, that transfer of energy is going to essentially die.
Right.
So like as you have stiffer materials for a certain amount of length, that transfer of energy has more of an opportunity for continuation into the final turnover of your presentation. And so that's where these leader formula guys come in, right? Like they're creating that, and Trout Hunter just has some really, really cool ones where it's like you could cast a 14-foot leader and you're like, this feels like a 7.5-footer. Like this was not as bad as I thought it was going to be to turn over. And, so for your application, everything does have a design.
Right. And if you were to try to make that leader yourself, you probably wouldn't get it right because it would be hard to do that, right? To get that perfect transfer of power to the leader.
It would take time and energy, and I feel like Trout Hunter does a really good job of just putting something out there that's user ready, especially for the guy who maybe is busy in life and doesn't have all of this trial and error time that all these other people have, that, they make it their life to go through, which it's a huge benefit to the angler, right?
Waters West Fly Fishing Outfitters is your gateway to the heart of Northwest fly fishing. Renowned for their expertise in spake casting and swung fly techniques, Waters West boasts an unmatched selection of fly tying materials and the knowledge to help you explore the region's most iconic rivers. I'll never forget that morning when Ed landed a steelhead just behind me, a perfect moment that reminds you why we chase chrome and why every day is a special one on the water. Whether you're a seasoned angler or swinging for the first time, Ed and Kyle are here to take your fishing expertise to the next level. You can visit Waters West Fly Fishing Outfitters right now and mention this podcast when you stop by. Join your community for both freshwater and saltwater fly fishing adventures. That's waterswest.com. Yeah, that's the fly fishing thing, right? There's always, like you say, you can go as deep as you want on anything. If you want to go deep on the building your own leader, go for it. Figure it out.
Yeah, you can go into that tribe, and it's such a small subspecies,
Right. It's super small. What about here's a subspecies. This is on my mind because I'm just curious. It's such a crazy story. And I just did an interview. Actually, we have another one we did on it, but the feather thief.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I just interviewed the author of the book, and it's such a crazy story, but it's the tribal thing is what it gets down to. Really, you got this tribe of Atlantic salmon fly tyers, some people that don't even fly fish. And they're so extreme that they're willing to, a few people break into national museums of crazy, right? What are your thoughts there on the tribal? First of all, do you know that story a little bit on that whole thing?
Absolutely. No, it's insane. And, I'm not an Atlantic salmon tyer. I would never, but do I like
2 hours?
Well, no,
right.
no. I mean, I will tie really marrying together 6 different feathers on a wing.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah. I'll nerd out on it just to challenge myself personally as a fly tyer.
Uh-huh.
But it's insane. Garage sales are great places to get some of that old stuff. This will trip you out. I have some super exotic stuff, and the labels on it say Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh, right. No, that's because of the hats.
Well, no, they used to be an outdoor store. It was a sporting goods store in New York.
Oh, right.
This frat boy pop culture icon of today, used to sell high-end side-by-sides, shotguns, and fly fishing equipment.
Right.
They made fly rods.
And fly fishing.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And fly
Abercrombie
fishing.
and Fitch.
Yeah.
So you could get fly materials at Abercrombie back in the day?
Yeah. I had materials that were shipped to somebody here in Reading, a very old guy from there, mail order style. But yeah, no, the Atlantic salmon tyers, it's a whole different world. The stuff that they get. I have some friends that do it that are really into it. And when I find some goofy rarity at a garage sale, I'll send them a picture, and I can just watch them. Their excitement level is I'm dude, it's just a blue feather, man.
Right through the roof. Yeah, they're trying to get the exact feather that was in talk about recipes. They're trying to get back to that exact fly tying recipe, right? With the exact bird, not an imitation turkey, something like the exact exotic bird.
Right. And some of those birds, there's 4 left in a zoo in the world.
Yeah. And that was the weird thing about that story. The crazy thing is that the guy literally stole some of Darwin's birds and some birds that are crazy,
It's it's insane.
So that's okay. So we took a little tangent there, but take us back into I think we were talking products in Loon. Give us a few more of Loon. Aquel, you mentioned. What are some of the other flagship products that Loon has going right now?
Oh man, one of the ones that I'm seeing blow up is fly dip. I will preface this with fly dip can be messy.
How is fly dip different from Aquel?
So all of the base chemicals are actually different, and then so that's one I designed here. And I'm not a chemical engineer. So when I was joking earlier, hey, I lit my garage on fire once. So I learned very quickly, and I probably should have remembered this from 7th grade science class, that things have a different boiling point and vapor pressures at which they ignite and whatnot. But so fly dip's a pretty awesome liquid concoction of stuff. And the one thing that I have found is guys are like, dude, this stuff's really weird. Like I had a video going around. When you introduce a new floatant, nobody believes you, right? And so I took a cup of water and I took a 4/0 bass hook and dipped it in fly dip and set it on the surface film of tap water, which is far less, than that of like in a river, right? Like the surface film in a river
It should sink fast.
it should sink faster in the tap water because it's so clean. There's nothing to help stabilize it, in my opinion. And I have a shop guy. He's sitting there like shaking the cup like aggressively more and
Oh,
more
wow.
violently, and the hook's just like
Won't sink.
laughing there. So the cool thing is it's super hydrophobic as a liquid towards water. So you could take actually a wet fly, which is a huge issue for dry fly fishermen. They're always like trying to dry the fly out before retreating. But this stuff, you can dip it in, throw it back out, the water gets displaced and it floats instantly again. Like fish slime, nothing affects the fly. It does get on things and never come off. I had a guide who spilt a bottle in the bottom of his boat, and a year later, he goes, water won't stick there.
Wow. That's crazy. And this is just a thing that you came up with on just in the mad scientist sort of thing in your garage?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
So kind of like I said, like that's one of my favorite products.
How do you do that? This is just a random. So how do you do that? When you go through the products, there's all these chemicals and stuff. How do you get that certified through the whatever it is, the government agency that certifies stuff, right? That's on your hands. And is that a whole process?
So it's actually, yeah, like you can look into human safe chemicals, and then you can look at other industries' chemicals. Like, so say if you're looking for an evaporative, let's just say you're looking at evaporative, you'll get this list of all of these. Technically, some of them women put on their face every day. Hey, I have this wet makeup that turns, it's a liquid to a solid, or to, like as a something. And you're like, wow, what does Revlon use as a base chemical there? Right. Like, and you can request such information sometimes and it'll get you into the right ballpark. And then oddly enough, the test species for a ton of chemicals, when you're looking at like MSDS and like SDSs and just digging through like piles of things inside of categories, the test animal for a lot of these things, like for mortality of concentration moralities, are rainbow trout because of their sensitivity levels. So you can actually go in and be like, how much of this product has to come in, say it's in a 5-gallon bucket, what concentration gradient has to be achieved to kill a fish? And the concentrations for fly dip are insane. So like you're like this, putting this into an environment, like we feel safe with that. So like there'll be a ton that you find that it's like, oh, 2 drops kills everything instantly. You're like, wow, that's
Right.
brutal.
No kidding. Damn.
But yeah, so like that's like a big look into my process is find somebody like, and I make the joke like, man, I was walking through the mall and I looked at this ad and it said liquid to a dry. I'm like, wow, that's what I want to do with floating. Why? What is that? Like maybe it's Maybelline. Like maybe that's the answer to making flies float. Like,
Yep.
let's go explore that for 7 or 8 months.
Gotcha. That's how it happens. And then eventually it's on in the vest or in the sling of somebody out there on the water and they're loving it.
Right. Yeah. So, like the product design flow kind of comes from everywhere. Like it could be like a nuisance, like one day on the river, like, dude, this forcep hurts my hand. Why does it do that? What can I do to improve that? Like, and then it's 3D. I taught myself a lot of 3D CAD. I'm not super great. I have a college kid that I work with sometimes. Like I'll pass stuff off to him and he's like, I think he designs like underground drilling machines from the ground up. And he'll like look at me and he's like, dude, can I just clean this up for you? And he's like, oh, yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
please help me.
Gotcha. You got some insiders in there. Look, do you guys do the like ambassadors? You have people with Loon out there, ambassador team and all that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned like Brian Wise.
Yeah, Brian.
So Brian's been a longtime friend, of the brand, aids us. We've got Hillary, Hillary Hutchinson, probably one of the most amazing, friendliest people I've ever met in my life. And she loves Loon. We've got Paula Shear out of Canada. She's awesome. We've got highly reluctantly, Nick Davis, the owner of 239 Flies. We started hanging out with Nick and being friends with Nick probably a decade ago, and he and I connected super well. He's a firefighter. I did that whole fire medic thing, both kind of transitioned. So it was a cool way to have like a friendship. And now he owns two shops and he's super busy. And he's like, dude, I'm not doing anything like I used to with like fly tying videos. And we're like, Nick, you're just an OG. We've got, Pete Erickson,
Oh yeah, Pete. Yeah,
um,
right. Totally.
grandmaster of, I don't know what they call like the older generation. They still compete, but it's like grandmaster
The Team USA.
Team
Yeah.
USA.
Yeah. Team USA. Yep.
So he's an amazing resource on loves fly dip lover, and a great story as a guy, like school teacher during the school year, guide during the summer. And it's super fun to get to go and hang out with all these people. We've got Beach and Curtis from Fly Fish Food.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Yeah. We hung out with them originally when I think they were in one of their basements, and it was an online store and they still had corporate jobs. Cheechin is like tiny little money makers we make fun of his hands because he's like got massive meat hooks.
Oh, he does. Right. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a good crew.
And we've got a bunch of like local ground level guys too. We've got some like Reading boys that are fishing bass. They're fishing steelhead. They're fishing the Fall River. They're all over the map. Or we've got guys in SoCal like Vaughn Podmore, running offshore, catching huge calicos and pelagics with guys on the fly. Just tons of friends, and all super cool, like-minded individuals.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, and we're just talking. Yeah, I mean California today. Talking a little bit on that. It's so huge, so diverse, but there's tons of opportunities. And then the rest of your areas you mentioned California, Nevada, Arizona, and then you pop over to Hawaii. What is Hawaii? That sounds like an interesting one. Give us a little update on the Hawaii. I don't remember seeing a fly shop in Hawaii last time I was there.
So up until Sean owned Nervous Waters and Nervous Waters Hawaii, and he closed, unfortunately. There's a few little operations that do a little bit of fly here and there.
Yeah, because there is a bone fishery, right? There's a big bonefish down over there and other species.
Yeah, they all only live on the Pancake Flat. There's no bonefish anywhere else on the islands. No, I'm joking.
The Big Island, isn't that where you can get the big bones?
I would venture to say, like, just on my exploration, like, there is very large bonefish throughout that island chain. But, yeah, like a lot of guys really associate the Hawaiian fly fishing scene with, like right near the airport in Honolulu. And I've gone and done that, and it's super fun. It's really amazing. It's an amazing fishery. And like, if you have any guys that listen that are going to Christmas Island, right? Like, reach out. You're going to have a day in Hawaii. Like that flight goes, and it's like, man, you're already doing this whole trip. One more day isn't going to be the end of the world, but like, go and experience that. Like, you can do everything right, and that fish will just like look at you, give you the middle fin after looking at your fly for seemingly an hour. And you're like, even though it's 10 seconds, you're like super like, are you going to eat it? And he'll just like blow off, and then you'll look, and there was like 8 other fish that you didn't, like 8 other Heineken bottles that you didn't see. And I've gone over there and done it a handful of times, and some stuff on Maui, and found fish blind stripping on Maui because it's not always flats fishing. Some of the it's a volcanic island chain, so the topography change is very drastic. From you could be offshore like a half mile, and it's like, whoa, this is 400 feet deep. Whoa. Okay. So like some blind casting, there's tons of jacks. There's tons of fun stuff to do over there. And they also have like a crazy bass fishery over there.
Okay. What kind of bass?
They have peacocks, and I forget the name of it, but I think it's almost like a smallmouth. I'd have to Google it. And I don't have that capability at the moment.
No, that's all right.
But there's like a bass slam over there. And it's like a peacock, maybe like, and I know the guys do it over there, and I feel bad because I haven't like explored it completely. And a lot of times when I go to Hawaii or was going to Hawaii for work, it was like, go there for 4 days. Like 2 of those days are like travel days in the circuit of like getting to see everybody inside of a timeline for like deadlines. And so like that kind of limits a lot of the fun.
So when you go there for work, how do you hit one island or do you hit a few or what do you do there?
No, most of the time I'd probably just like honestly, I just end up in Honolulu, hang out with Sean, Captain Chris, Fly Fish Hawaii, or yeah, is it Fly Fish Hawaii? He'll kill me. And Chris is awesome. Chris, hang out with those guys, get plate lunch and go fish for a day, kind of check in at the shop for a day, take the wife with you, and do some dinners and get home.
Yeah, that's it, right? I know. Yeah, you can't. You're in Hawaii. That's pretty nuts. Yeah, I'm looking at Captain Chris Wright
Yep.
at Aloha Fishing Hawaii
Aloha fishing. Yeah.
on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably one of the most amazing, happy, so stoked. Like if you just want fun content, you should follow him on the gram.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, he's got some big bonefish right there on his gram. Jeez. Oh, and he's got all sorts of other fish.
Yeah. GTs, plugs GTs too, which they're just awesome.
Yeah, sweet.
I'd recommend hanging out with those guys.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna be hitting them up for sure. Before we get out of here, anything else you want to leave us with? I know we've kind of been pretty general, high level today, but it's been a lot of fun. As far as any other brands, products, anything you want to check in on before we get out of here?
Oh man. I mean, I will say this, like, I don't know, given the current world and timelines, like with Loon, I know I want to say like 4 years worth of really fun new products.
Oh, you do? Yeah, you got a lot of stuff.
I mean, there's in the product design world, it's like we get so much to that 90% and that last 10% just getting it over. Like, honestly, the owner's probably main job is just to like go, Matt, we can't do 35 things.
Yeah, filtering your stuff.
Yeah, they're the filter, right? Like, or the SKU police. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, but there's a lot of really new, interesting, fun ideas coming out.
There is. Now, before we get out here, the owners, that's kind of interesting. I mean, you're kind of the face, really. I think the face of Loon out there. I mean, you have your ambassadors, but who are the owners? Were they the ones that actually started the company at the start?
No, but oddly enough, it is a family organization. So the two owners are Alan and Brett. Alan started working at Loon when his sister was married to the founder of Loon. He ended up unfortunately passing away. Alan and his sister ran it for a while. Alan ultimately bought his sister out and is married to Brett, the other owner's sister.
Oh, wow.
So like
That's crazy.
the chain, like
It's family.
yeah, it's super family. And then,
Wow.
like I like laugh and it's like, wow, my connection was, this like childhood friend.
Oh, yeah. Family in a way, right?
And kind of everybody, and like our guy Tyler, who is our warehouse guy, like, and he's not like the warehouse guy. Like we have more people, like, like all of our chemicals are mixed in Boise, but he's our warehouse manager. He runs all of the ops, all of the shipping, manages all of that stuff. He was Alan's like childhood friend from like 5th grade.
Oh, wow. Huh.
So like when I talk about these like cool tight knit cultures of people, like that, like Loon literally is family, like, and like I like to say, it's like you're born with a family, but then you have the family that you choose, which are like your closest friends throughout life. And like, that's just kind of the way a lot of Loon works.
That's a really cool story.
Yeah. So those are the dudes that own it. And so technically it's been family owned since its inception, just by different family members. Right. But yeah, so I mean, and I kind of gave it away, but if you add Hogan Brown in there,
Oh, yeah.
and,
Hogan. Yeah.
and Hogan runs with us now. And, we have this awesome dude named Dom, who's like photo, video.
Oh, yeah. Dom. Yep.
Dominic Bruno runs with us now too.
That's
And it's
right.
like, everybody's friends, everybody's family. And it's just a small organization.
It is, right? It's a small organization. And like you said, you got some of those other brands that are you're connected to, but are also kind of cool. Like you said, what was the word you call it? You call them like the indie bands.
Yeah. I always tell people, I'm like, man, you're hanging out with the cool kids that aren't afraid to do kind of the
Right.
more edgy things.
I know.
Like in as far as music would go, like, it's like you hang out, like, not to take this longer, but you hang out with like Barchi or like the Ray Jeff boys, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna release this rod.
Oh, yeah.
And we're gonna sell like 100 of them, but
Yeah.
it's so cool.
Yeah, exactly. Barchi's Scott.
Yes.
Yeah. That's who I want to be hanging out. I want to hang out with Ray Jeff while he's coming up with an idea for a new rod. Like that's the guy that's like for sure has his finger on the pulse. And he's testing some crazy thing, which is what you do too, right? With Loon, is similar deal.
Absolutely. It's like, and sometimes even with that, like you could put something out there and it doesn't even it's a failure for 5 years. And then all of a sudden everybody like figures it out and you're like, oh yeah, we don't make that anymore.
Right. It's gone. It's gone.
And then there's this like weird cult search for like secondhand versions of it, right?
Oh man, that's so good.
So
yeah, this is cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think like we said at the start, maybe give us a shout to your Instagram. Where can people find you?
My Instagram is Callies23. So it's just that is it. That's where I'm at. And then I'll apologize in advance. It's like kids fishing mostly because that's what happens.
You got teenage kids, younger teenage kids?
I have an 11 and a 13-year-old.
Oh, 11 and 13. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've got a 11. Oh, actually, no, that's crazy. I guess we talked about this last time. My kids are almost 11 and 13.
Yeah.
It's a crazy age. Is your daughter the young one?
No, my daughter's the old one. So it's like, if you catch a picture of her with a fish and her fishing, can I please approve that? Because I want to make sure. And you're like, dude, I know. Nobody's going to care.
I know. It is. That world of teenagers is a crazy world to be back into. After for me, however many years it's been, 40 or not quite 40 years, but you remember them, right? You remember those days like it was yesterday. Still, you're like, God, I remember those days. They weren't always the greatest, but sometimes they were awesome. No,
I spend a lot of time. I'm sure you can relate. Like explaining to your teenager, I'm like, dude, this seems so huge right now.
I know,
but it'll never matter.
Nope, it will never matter. Exactly. Cool.
So,
all right, Matt, we'll send people out there, and then also loonoutdoors.com, and then we'll have links to all your other stuff. And this has been a lot of fun, man. Good to catch up with you, and excited to hopefully be doing some other good stuff moving ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
There it is. Matt back on the show, round 2. That was awesome. If you enjoyed this one, check in with Matt. You heard his Instagram handle. Do that. Check in with Loon Outdoors if you're into any of their stuff, and let Matt know you heard this podcast. If you haven't yet, please click that plus button and follow this podcast so you get that next episode delivered to your inbox. Next week, we're coming back with a strong week, a strong episode, and a big trip that's on the horizon. We are launching the Project Healing Waters White River Rendezvous. This sounds good, doesn't it? It rings. Go to whiteriverrendezvous.com right now, and you can check out what we have going there. We're going to be doing this event coming up this year, and we're doing a giveaway that just kicked off, or that's just kicking off on Monday. So if you want to get a chance to win a spot to go on this trip and hear all about why we're doing this now and what it's all about, you can check in there. All right, that's all I have for you right now. I've got, I can hear outside my door the lawnmowers. It's that time of the year. Lawnmowers are going strong. I'm not sure if you can hear it on the mic. They're cranking away outside. I don't have a lawn, actually, these days, so that's actually nice. But I'm hopeful that I'll be back to mowing the lawn soon. I'm not sure if you're out mowing your lawn right now. I'm guessing you're not because it might be hard to hear this podcast. But if you are, give me a shout out anytime, dave@wetflyswing.com. If you haven't checked in with me, do that, please. I would love to hear if you enjoyed this episode. If I haven't heard from you, I always love to get those random emails. That makes my day. And if that's you right on the very end, you can do it right now. You can make my day, dave@wetflyswing. Let me know you heard this podcast and what you're enjoying. And I hope you have a great afternoon. Hope you have a great evening. And if it's morning, you're enjoying a nice glass of orange juice. I hope you're enjoying it. And I will look forward to seeing you on that next episode. We'll talk to you then.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.